What's good, guys? Welcome to my podcast, Snacks Thoughts. I say again, welcome to my podcast, Snacks Thoughts. And today, I want to talk about why most people don't understand how power really works. You know, most people don't understand power because they're uninformed. They misunderstand it because they're taught the wrong model of how the world works. Let me explain the difference. Now, many people have the storybook view of power versus reality. They believe what is written in textbooks. And for the sake of this episode, I'm going to use the United States of America. Many of us are taught that the United States, is the place of the American dream. Baseball, hot dogs, and apple pie. Opportunity and equality for all. If you have a dream and you believe in it, in America, you can achieve it. Now, while those possibilities certainly do exist in any society, and definitely in the United States of America, this is not a place that has been fair for all. And this is not, this episode is not obviously about racial politicking or, race or anything like that. And this is not a video of me whining. Now, obviously, I am African American, so therefore, I'm going to speak from the perspective of an African American and also a man. And from my own personal perspective and experiences, and how I see things. But the United States of America, for African Americans, generally speaking, it was not designed for us to succeed. It was not designed for us to be really a part of the everyday middle class. We were actually, obviously, anybody that knows the history of, slavery, knows that America was heavily involved in the West Atlantic slave trade, and obviously our ancestors are a mix of individuals that were from different tribes that were brought over here, or if you want, or sold into slavery. And so, when slavery was finally abolished, and going a little bit in history, the United States of America actually at one point had tried to transport African Americans back to Africa. I believe they set up the country of Liberia, for some type of experiment, and it didn't work, because we obviously had our culture, basically broken down and taken, and so we adopted to American culture, and so they really didn't have a place for us when slavery had ended. And so they tried to send us back to West Africa, but it didn't work. And many of us through generations were born, in America. So this is America. So this is all that we had come to know. And when they did abolish slavery, so now you have all of these free Black Americans, but it's like, okay, where do they fit at in society? Do you have jobs for them? And that, I'm just giving some backdrop real quick. And so all of that leads up to everything, the transitions that occurred from the Jim Crow South, post-slavery, where you had segregation, segregated schools, restaurants, et cetera, segregation in the military, all of that, what I'm saying? So that right there alone lets you know that America was not created equal. And in particular, Black Americans, this American society, this nation, it really didn't foresee a place for us being with the wealthy or even being part of the middle class. And so, as time went on, obviously you had civil rights, you know what I'm saying? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And there were others, you know what I'm saying? Then also you had Malcolm X, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, there are others that are in that mix, you know what I'm saying? A whole, bunch of others, you know what I'm saying? Marcus Garvey. I mean, I could go on, but I don't want to make this a history lesson, but I'm driving my point home and trying to show you the overall perspective and framework from my perspective because I'm African American. And so individuals that are not African American, they won't necessarily be able to relate to this experience because they didn't have this experience. And so for them, they don't know. Not saying America was fair to them either, and that life it can be challenging for all. You know what I'm saying? But African Americans do have a unique experience in this country that we call America. Our experience is totally different from any other group, even other minority groups. Totally different. You know what I'm saying? Because of how our ancestors came here. It's a totally uniquely different experience. This American system, as we know it, granted, people from all walks of life, have been able to excel and assimilate to the middle class. But if you look at the Civil Rights, Act with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and fighting to get African Americans assimilated or integrated into American society. They desegregated the military, and then eventually, years later, they would went through desegregation of this whole American system and society, where finally, blacks and whites, were able to finally, mix, work side by side, you know what I'm saying? So that's just some backdrop, but this American system, it is not, created equal. And even for those that are not African Americans, even, just rank and file regular white Americans, for them, they catch a hard way to go too. This system really was designed to favor the wealthy. That's really who it was designed to favor the wealthy, and really the wealthy elites. And everybody else was just pushed down, into the masses. And I'm not saying that the American dream doesn't exist, but if you look at it in modern times, many people, they can't even afford rent. People are going homeless. They hungry. They can't afford the everyday cost of living. Food prices are going up. Gas prices. The cost of education. So it is making it harder. The cost, to rent a place, the cost of buying a home. So you add all of these factors in, the cost of medical expenses. The cost of living has gone up in the United States significantly, that people can't afford, to have families and produce children, for the next generation. So it is having an effect. And so therefore that tells me the storybook ending, power versus reality. It is not equal. And the rank and file, regular everyday person doesn't have the power. It's those that top 1% and really the top 0.000 something of the top elite of the 1%. That's who has the power. And they make decisions generationally, So when you have families that are, or people that are in power, they expect to pass that power down, power, prestige, status, and wealth down to the next generation, and then, or either several generations down. That's how they plot and plan this out. you know. But power versus reality, the destruction of your middle class, which is no accident. It was done intentionally. Your middle class is the largest, probably the largest group of people that you have, and they make the engine in the United States go. The stronger your middle class is, the stronger any nation will be. And so they had to get the middle class out the way because collectively as a group, we make a powerful voting bloc, and we have power collectively, not individually, but as a group. And so they got to destroy it, got to wipe it out. So that way the elites, can have their way and institute this new system without having heavy pushback from your middle class. But yeah, power versus reality. The middle class, pay the brunt of the taxes, whereas the wealthy or the rich, they don't pay as much taxes as they should. They have more money than they could spend for a lifetime, and they still get to keep most of their money while they bleed out, the middle class. But power versus reality. The United States Constitution, it says that that all men are created equal, but is that really true? In the United States of America, are all men really created equal? If you step back and take a look at it, if all men are really created equal, then all should be afforded the same opportunity to excel and move up the socioeconomic ladder without putting stumbling blocks in people's way. And we know that is not true. Let's see why people expect fairness instead of incentives. No system in any country is, but in America, you're not going to get fair. It's the system. This is like a game. It's rigged, and it is designed for those that are in power, and it is designed to ensure that they keep it. The incentives. For those that to the wealthy and that are powerful, this is like Burger King for them. They can have it all their way. Now, are there some incentives for the other classes? Let's see. Let me go, what might used to be. Some of the incentives that used to be, for those that were poor, they could get, assistance with, housing, food stamps, help with, child care. You had government assistance. Yeah, obviously, Trump is going in, hard, and they're cutting a lot of those programs now and slashing funding because of the government's deficit. I guess they can't afford it anymore. But some of the incentives, were if you single parent with children, in most cases it was the women, single mothers, they can rely on social systems, welfare, get their food stamps, they got a place to stay, kids go to public school, or you had affordable housing or public housing authority, what else, what is it? I believe Obamacare came in with, some form of medical insurance, so that would be affordable to ensure that every American had medical and dental insurance. So those were some of the incentives for the poor. They could get some type of help or relief so that they could survive. Now, for the middle class, depending, on maybe what you owned, or if you were a business owner, if you owned a home, maybe there's certain things you could have certain tax write-offs. But my personal opinion, I believe the middle class gets hit the hardest. The middle class, They put in a lot of the share, of the work. They help to drive economies, through their spending, um, the different taxes that they pay, federal taxes, state taxes, city taxes, municipalities, you know. What else? Look at what the middle class supports. They build families, so they help, to fund, many different systems, what I'm saying, Medicare, Social Security, what I'm saying, FICA. I mean, this all types of stuff, man. You know, um, where do they, where they spend their money at? You know what I'm saying? The middle class keeps a lot of businesses, up and running. Groceries, gas. You know what I'm saying? Entertainment. Anything from sporting events. You know what I'm saying, to concerts. I mean, I could continue on. You know what I'm saying, but the middle class, I feel, gets the most rawest deal because they spend to keep economies turning, and also they get taxed heavy. They bear the heaviest burden of the taxes. So, as far as the middle class, if I had to pick an incentive for them, I probably would say maybe the so-called American dream. They they got their savings, they're building up their 401ks or their pensions, some investments in the stock market, some crypto, other investments, solid, precious metals. They get to take their vacations, and generally speaking, can have a affordable and decent to good quality, of life. You know what I'm saying? Fitness memberships. I'm just trying to think. The ability to attain an education. You know, um, upward. Socially mobile, or at the minimum, at least they are stable. They, are in a stable position. When I think about incentives for the middle class, like I said, if you own, what I'm saying, houses or certain things that can give you, that build equity, or that can give you tax write-offs, those are some of the benefits. Now, how institutions simplify complex systems, and I'm of the personal belief that institutions, they shape how we think. To an extent, they shape what we believe, because these institutions, which begin with the school system, they teach our kids, from the time whether they do Head Start or kindergarten all the way, up, to the university level. And so the curriculum that they teach, does shape, a lot of our ideas and our views, to including political. You have institutions such as the media, and American media is really good in many cases for hiding the truth. They give you a bunch of propaganda or stuff to keep your mind distracted. Look at American media. I mean, reality TV shows. What is it? And granted, we got everything, every cable station, that you can possibly watch. Netflix, Amazon or Amazon Prime. As Americans, we love our sports. But we have all types of things to keep us distracted, so we don't really see the real picture. And I don't always agree with DJ Trump on everything, but in some cases he's right. The fake news or the fake media. In some cases, he's actually hit the nail on the head. When it comes to American TV. When I was overseas, when I would watch the news on with with foreign broadcasts, they tell more of the blunt, honest truth. They give it to you. And if there's if there's blood and gore in the street, they gonna show it. They gonna show it. Hey, viewer discretion advised. Whereas America, they give you a bunch of garbage and try to hide the truth or try to shape it and frame it in a certain way. Then in America, obviously, social media is big. So we have all types of stuff, everything from YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, Instagram. You name it. So we have all these different distractions and these, Twitter or X. You have these different institutions, that are working to, I guess, try to dictate what we see here and how we think. Throw in artificial intelligence in that mix, knowing exactly what to feed us, monitors what we watch, where we go, what we do, our cell phones, electronic devices, and the United States also promotes consumerism. Spend, credit card, buy all that you can, so it shapes and gives us this ideal in America that you don't have to sacrifice, you can have it all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What else? Why the misunderstanding repeats across countries? Image is everything. And I say it again, image is everything. And the United States sets the precedence for the world. So as the United States goes, generally speaking, the rest of the world will follow. So if they see the United States, money, cars, clothes, and 304s, hey, they're going to want to get in on that action too because of perception of what they see. The American media, if it is not the strongest in the world, it's got to be in the top two. I'll have to believe that American media is probably the strongest globally. And so whatever images or perceptions that they put out, to the rest of the world, if they don't live in America and stuff like that, I'm not saying that people don't know what the deal is, but generally speaking, America being wealthy, and they see how our middle class or see, how our poor live, and they like, man, what I'm saying? They got it gravy over there, so it's a perception. Many may think that a lot of Americans, are rich, what I'm saying, compared to their particular standards. Perception. And with societies now being interconnected, and now that with the internet and stuff like that, we are all in each other's backyard. So we are beginning to adopt and take on learned behaviors from other cultures and other countries, as well as they're taking from us. And it's becoming a more really is globally becoming a more centralized society. That's why, I'm saying, this repeats, across countries, because with the internet and social media now, news travels instantly. News spreads fast, travels instantly. And, okay, housing power clearly changes expectations. The slogan, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's what I can say on that. It is what it is. You just gotta face facts and accept reality, what I'm saying, as it is. Power rules and power controls. When you in Rome, you do as the Romans do. And for the rank and file average person, we just trying to make it and carve out, what I'm saying, a little piece of something for ourselves in this life, whatever country you in. everybody trying to get it and, you know what I'm saying, trying to survive. And obviously you have elites, you know what I'm saying, and wealthy in every country just as well as you have a poor and you have a middle class. You know, United States middle class just happens to be the most richest and the strongest of every nation. You know, but all over the world, you know what I'm saying, the most of the people that ain't rich, they just trying to get it, you know what I'm saying, get it how they live day to day, you know, and if you are not rich, you know what I'm saying, you don't have time to be hobnobbing or necessarily worrying about what the elite and what the rich, you know what I'm saying, are doing, because you got your own life and you got your own stuff that you got to do. You got to make it for yourself. And you're not in a position to make those decisions. We don't write policies. We don't do legislation. Granted, we have the power to vote here in America, and we can contact our politicians and our congressmen, and we can, you know, obviously, you know, show up at Capitol Hill, you know what I'm saying, and we can contact, you know, our law and you know, our officials, you know what I'm saying, and share our concerns. But at the end of the day, the average American, we don't make policy. We don't control the law. We don't write it, you know. But we do our best, you know what I'm saying, to make sure that we abide, you know what I'm saying, by the laws of this country, you know. And we do our best to make the most of what we have, whatever your class level or your situation is, you know. But seeing power clearly, you basically have to know where you at. You know, you got to know what your class level is and what your position is in society. And from there, you go about, you know what I'm saying, making the best of your situation. You know, I don't have time to be worried about what the elites and what they're doing now. If it's something that's really, you know what I'm saying, going to affect me, just like it would with any other Americans, then if it's really going to be something severe or something that we deem that, hey, wait a minute, y'all going too far, then obviously, you know what I'm saying, rank and file people going to get together and they're going to let these politicians, hey, you know what I'm saying, that's not going to fly. But, you know, on a regular day-to-day basis, in most cases, people are just going about their business, you know what I'm saying, just trying to live their lives and trying to make it for themselves and their families, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that's my take on it, you know, but what say you guys? You know, what do you think, you know what I'm saying, in terms, you know, of understanding how power works? You know, what say you? But I'm going to end this right here. And something to think about, you know what I'm saying? Most people, they don't understand power and how the world actually works. They really don't, you know. And in order to understand it, we must become more informed and we must educate ourselves. And sometimes to educate ourselves on these things, it may take a little bit of time out of our day, but I think it's worth it. I really do. I think it's worth it to get informed. You know what I'm saying? Understand what's going on, you know what I'm saying, in your world. And even if it's outside your class level or your scope, you know what I'm saying, still, you know what I'm saying, get informed. You know what I'm saying? Everything from checking out the news to, I still believe, you know what I'm saying, reading or studying books or articles, you know, get informed. You know, if you don't know, you know what I'm saying, then how can you make adjustments if you just stay in your bubble and you're not aware as to actually what's going on, you know what I'm saying, you know, around you. You know, you need to be aware of, you know, different changes that they're making economically, different policies, what these lawmakers are doing. You need to be aware because it will affect you and your family by the rules that they make, what they do with these banking systems, how they, you know, different setups that they're doing, you know, with this technology. You should be informed so that way you can adjust and you don't get caught, you know what I'm saying, off guard. But that's all I have on this one. And the name of this podcast is Snack Starts. SNAKZTHOUGHTS. Snack Starts. And you can find this podcast on Spotify. You can find it on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Radio PBM, SoundCloud, and a host of other social media outlets. So please join me here on Snack Starts and leave a comment. I'd like to hear what say you. Let me know what's on your mind. So we can have the conversation. Also, I have a YouTube channel, Eric Brothers YouTube, ERICBROADUS YouTube, or ericbrothersyoutube.com. So go over to my YouTube channel, smash the bell to become a subscriber, turn on all notifications, hit the like and unlike button to either like or like the videos and episodes. Leave a comment. Either way, love to dialogue with you. Hit that hype button at Eric Brothers YouTube, one of those videos. Hit the hype button. Hype it up so you get me out there. And lastly, also I have my snacks, 123 on Rumble, SNAKZ, 123 on Rumble. So subscribe and join me on Rumble as well. Hit the like or unlike button to like the lives, the podcast, the videos. Leave a comment. Love to dialogue with you and hear your thoughts. Everyone is entitled to their opinion and has a right to be heard. And lastly, guys, I also have the 5 best weight loss products. If you want to lean out, lose weight, and it's also nutritional, click the link. Link will be in the description. Next to God, the next best thing you have is your health. Your health is your wealth. And your health directly affects your quality of life. So you get one body, you get one life. Take care of it, guys. Take care of it. But that's all I have on this one, guys. And I ask that you please share it. All the share the Eric Brothers YouTube, Snacks 123 on Rumble, Snacks Thoughts podcast, and the 5 best weight loss products. Share them with friends, family, frenemies, enemies, rats, dogs, bats, goats, and cats. Share it. Push it out, guys. And thank you to all my subscribers and followers. Thank you for giving me a reason to come on to these platforms so I can share what I have to offer. Peace out. Catch you on the next one later.